Get my hand off the mic and stuff. It's probably a little bit hard to video this way while I'm driving. But I couldn't figure out any place to set you. This is a little phone camera, so close up the window a little bit so maybe won't have a bunch of wind noise. I can always turn on the AC. But I thought I'd just chat a little bit while I'm driving. Gotta go to town and pick up some medications. Get a few things. But so my little chat or talk or conversation, whatever I'm having here, thoughts. Got thinking how when we're young, still in school and everything, we have all these ideas and thoughts and things we want to do and things we want to be, and we have wonderful imaginations where minds are always thinking, and I was always pretty, I guess, my mind always went. My mind never really shuts off. I'm constantly thinking of this, that, all kinds of stuff. Have a little outside, I call it my little hut, in some little trees, and I cut out the lower branches, and that's where I have my little escape, or my little, it wasn't a tree house because it wasn't in a tree, it was just in the bushes. And then my little brother one day, he was out there helping me. I actually got a picture of that. We're out there and got a little handsaw, and I don't remember if Dad actually knew I was out there doing that, because eventually he said to not do it, so no more cutting off the limbs. Then remember when I was a teenager and he let me get my first dirt bike, and actually I ended up having two different ones. I had a 150 Honda and I think a 175 Yamaha, or vice versa. But I ended up having a dirt bike. Ride it out in the fields behind the house, stuff, but I couldn't ride it until I had my chores done. But I always gotta have them chores done first. You know, that's something I think a lot of kids in the U.S. now don't know about. It's all this electronic stuff, which it can be very useful, can be handy, but yet it takes away from some of the growth of the kids today to having things you got to do before you get to play with all that stuff. I think the closest thing we had for video games, we had a old Atari. And everybody that knows what Atari is, I mean, it's very, very simple, plain games, according to a lot of the games they have nowadays. But anyhow, back to the motorcycle. I'd always ride around out in the field and stuff, and it just, the feeling of being on the bike and just off by myself, riding in the field, the smells of the nature and the breeze and the sights, just everything was just awesome. I always knew that I, enjoyed riding. My dad had bikes on and off growing up, and he would always take us for rides. And one day, they went to town. My sister lived 1 mile down the road, pretty much a straight shot once you leave our driveway. They went to town, and he said, "Do not take that motorcycle on the road while we're gone." I said, "Okay, I won't." I thought, okay, well, I don't have to take it on the road, we'll ride it in the field. So I rode it down one field, and then I walked it across the road to the next field. I went all the way through a field or two, and then I walked it across the street to my sister's house. Well, they got back before I did. They called down to my sister's and said, "You tell her to get her butt home now." I thought, uh-oh. Well, what did I do? I didn't take it down the road. I went through the fields. Well, I got home. Of course, Dad was upset. And I tried to argue a bit with him, tell him, well, I didn't take it on the road, you know, I went across the fields and went over there. He says, you had to cross the road to get to the next field, didn't you? I'm like, yeah. He goes, so you took it on the road and I told you not to. Which, you know, as a kid, sometimes you're thinking, oh man, you know, seriously? Just because I walked it across the road, seriously, you're going to take that as me taking on the road? But anyway, yes, as an adult, now that I'm an adult and had kids of my own, I can understand being more literal about things. Tell your kids not to do something, you better be a little bit more specific, because I know my son was the same way. You know, if I told him that he couldn't do something or go somewhere or whatever, and I wasn't specific, he would find a way to do it anyhow. And it always reminded me of, you know, things like that when I was a kid. But I've always enjoyed motorcycles, I always enjoyed riding. Haven't really owned many myself, but about 2 years ago I had me a little motorcycle and really enjoyed it. And there was a few problems. It was 1980 Kawasaki, older model stuff, perfect height for me because I'm only 5 foot. So I really enjoyed that. And then it started having some mechanical problems, and just things I could not figure out, get fixed, and tried several things. So the neighbor guy, he bought it. No matter what he tried either, and he had other people, you know, another guy look at it, stuff, they just couldn't figure out what was causing the problems, that it wouldn't stay running and all this. But anyhow, since I enjoyed motorcycles so much, I thought that when I graduated from high school, and this was like around 1983, I thought, I know what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a motorcycle mechanic. And I know we were sitting around the table at dinner and discussing, yes, people used to sit around the table and eat dinner back then. At least we did. We were sitting around there, and I was saying how, you know, I'd like to be a motorcycle mechanic. And my dad was saying, you know, in this age, it'd be really difficult because you really don't see very many females doing that type of work. Not that he was trying to talk me out of it. He was just letting me know in advance and ahead of time that something like that at that time period was not what they consider feasible for women. So we sat there and discussed a while on that, and I really wanted to do it. Then I met my first husband while I was still in school, and he actually lived at another school. And I've just always been stubborn-headed. It came up at one point where I ended up turning 18 during the first part of my senior year. Nobody can make me do anything anymore. You know how we all get like that. Once we get to the considered adult age, nobody can make us do anything. So I'm going to do what I want to do. And I was not a great student in school. I was more like a C and D type student. And I thought, this one teacher told me that if I didn't step up, me and a girlfriend, if we didn't step up and really get a good grade in her class, she wasn't going to pass us, and we needed every credit to get our diploma. So she turned 18 too, and we said, screw it, you know, she's not going to pass us. And we go all through our senior year, and sounds like she has, you know, a vendetta for us. And if we don't meet our requirements to her standards, not the actual school curriculum standards or whatever, she can just, all she got to do is mark a pen and fail us. So we quit school. And that was around in September. And I didn't have a little job or anything at that time. Well, ended up, me and my husband ended up getting married, or my ex-husband, we ended up getting married in February February 15th, actually. Or no, it was January 15th. We got married January 15th, and neither one of us had a job. We didn't have a place to live. You know, people are like, well, you can't get married. You can't do this. You ain't got a pot to piss in. What are you going to do for work? Where are you going to stay? Blah, blah, blah. And we thought, okay, we'll show them. We can do it anyway. So we ended up getting married. We stayed at his folks for a little bit. And then we stayed in a little tiny pull-behind camper that my grandmother had out in our yard. It was winter time. And it had a little propane tank, so I had a little refrigerator, which wasn't working, but the little stove didn't have a potty in there or shower or anything, so we would go in Grandma's house to do that stuff. Being winter time, we kept a cooler. Hold on, guys. Cut some of this wind. And being winter time, we had a nice chest cooler, so we set that outside and put all our food and stuff in it. Got to cook on the stove. A lot of nights we played like Yahtzee and Skippo and Uno, stuff like that. But it just, you know, it's I'm going to stop there on the story, but it just goes to, you know, when you think about being a kid and all the things you did growing up, the type of imagination you had, what you wanted to be, creativity your mind has. I've always been a person, I like different things. I like to be involved or see different things. I like meeting people. I just like change. I'm not a person to, say, live in the same spot that I grew up my entire life and never go anywhere, never see anything. By all means, I'm not rich or have a savings account or anything like that to do a lot of travel or sightseeing or spending money for this, that, and the other thing to be different places. But after doing some researching and checking things out, and here I am 50, you know, and I got that little RV at a really reasonable price. As long as the motor and the wheels and that are good, the cosmetic stuff can be fixed. But doing a little research in that of full-time RVing and how to make an income on the road, and I really got interested because, like I say, I don't like to stay in one spot for a long period of time. The most I stayed in a spot, I think, was maybe 5 years, and then I'd have to move. It just got so humdrum, so boring, so nothing to, you know, see and do around here. I think I've done it all, and that's just not for me. Just can't do that. And I'll have to tell you another little story about a comment someone made to me that was, it's a good comment, so don't take it the wrong way. But yeah, I always wanted to be a motorcycle mechanic. I never did, but I've always enjoyed motorcycles. I have done mechanics on your basic cars, not a lot of this electronic stuff. But my dad showed me basics that I need to know to keep shops from ripping you off, or be able to do some of the mechanics yourself to save money. Various things like that. Camping, fishing, hunting, various things, you know. I was up on the roof at, like, I think 12 years old or something, helping him roof the little house that we built off a little shanty that my grandmother had on her yard, and we built us a small house to live in out of that. So I've been around a lot of stuff to learn how to do many things. I'm not sure of the view because I'm holding the camera kind of back. Like I say, it's just a smartphone that's not connected up to any phone service. But I'm coming into town, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I hope you enjoyed my little chitter-chatter, my little stories. I'll probably be adding some little more stories on and off throughout my life, and let you know. It kind of gives you a little bit of idea more about me and the type of person that I am and everything. get you out of the windshield a little bit. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I will catch you later.